Hello, I'm Tan the Tan VOTC channel, and I wanted to talk about uh, Nostalgia Critic's take, at least on Sauron and kind of the Balrog. I think they look badass. I made a comment, though brief, and I would have added more to it. I did want to talk about this. I think he thinks that Sauron looks like a Marvel villain and that he looks cartoonish or whatever. Uh, I mean, you can have whatever opinion, of course. I'm not trying to say that you can't, but I want to at least add some things to the discussion or just like start a discussion. But I always loved Sauron. I even liked him more than Lord Voldemort, even though Lord Voldemort is, Ralph Fiennes is pretty hammy with his role, similar to Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. But I love Sauron because he looks badass, first off. He makes for a badass Pop Funko, that's for sure. Probably the coolest one, in my opinion. And I think his armor looks sweet. I would love to have that armor. And he's influenced a lot of, like, looks, mostly, of characters. Like, you can see it in Lich King. Oh, the Witch King, maybe you could say that's the influence there. You can see it in Aerodyne from The Witcher 3 in particular. I actually have Aerodyne. He's right there. And he also influences like the Daedric armor, especially in Elder Scrolls Oblivion, how there's a lot of things. Oblivion's entire domain of Oblivion is similar to Mordor, as well as its towers similar to theirs. And he kind of looks like a hulking version of like one of his towers turned into armor. I think it looks dope. It's really cool, and it's something that stands out to a lot of people, clearly. I still think he's pretty mysterious, too. Like, yeah, you get to see the hulking suit of him, and him using a mace like it's a gravity hammer. And then the fact he explodes after he loses fingers. He was pretty dumb for that. He isn't technically an eye in the books. Like, the eye is referring to more of a symbol painted on the Orcai's armor in the books, but this is still kind of a classic look, an iconic look that nobody but Peter Jackson could have come up with, or whoever came up with this working on the movies. I still think it's a really cool looking design, and it stands out as its own unique thing. Like a lot of the things in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, it stands out. But he was kind of mysterious to me because, like, yeah, we can physically see this hulking suit of armor guy, but we never get to see his face. We never get to see what he looks like or anything. We never really hear him speak that much. And when he does, it is one of the more badass voices other than Christopher Lee's in the movie. And you won't doubt, like, the whole flaming eye thing wasn't, I think, was terrifying in the first movie because all you saw was the flaming eye. I don't even think it really showed much of it being on top of the tower. I think there's a part where you see a vision of Frodo traveling up the tower that he's on, and then what is this tower's name? It's not Dol Guldur. I'm trying to remember the name, but there's like an image of him traveling up his tower, and then there's the eye, but you don't specifically see like this image. You just see an eye of fire. I still think that's pretty cool and terrifying part. He has also probably, I love his, hell, there's even Sauron armor in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And of course I was getting that. I love his design. It's freaking awesome looking. It's influenced a bunch of other armor sets for villains and such that are also really awesome villains. A lot of the designs for it's ironic that he mentioned World of Warcraft or the Balrog, because I think both the Balrog and Sauron influenced things, ironically mentioning the Lich King again, from World of Warcraft, how they even have the towers with blue eyes instead of red ones on them. There's clearly influences. I think the influences stop after stuff like Cataclysm and maybe Burning Crusade even. But yeah, you can tell there's clearly influences here and there from Lord of the Rings and those. Same with Elder Scrolls, there's clearly influences there too. But I still found him mysterious. I always thought that he also did the Lord Voldemort thing and split his soul into pieces. Because, first off, there's these different versions of Sauron, and especially Middle Earth kind of makes this known. There's the armor of Sauron, which is what we see in his one physical form in the movie. There's the eye and then the mouth. But from what I hear, the mouth was a guy that was either half Numenorian or he was Numenorian and he was corrupted. I think he would have been half. But if he's not, then it's an interesting way of saying there are multiple parts of Sauron. And you could kind of see that even in the books, because I think Sauron is trapped on Numenor when it gets destroyed and sunken into the sea. And that was like one of his bodies, which he was able to travel his soul or whatever back to the mainland of Middle Earth, or he had a part of him waiting on in Middle Earth. And knowing that he's trying to come back together in his full form, he probably is able to restore his body faster before he made the ring, the One Ring. And when he made that, just like Morgoth, he put all his power into that one item. And if that gets destroyed, which is the only thing that leads me to think he won't be coming back, even if he did the whole Lord Voldemort thing. But yeah, it reminds me kind of Morgoth, where Morgoth was weakened. He was put in prison. Then they decided, hey, let's let this guy go. And then he decided to do some evil things again, and they finally were like, no, we're killing him. He had his chance. But yeah, I always found Sauron still mysterious. I don't actually know what he looks like. We only hear brief moments of his voice. And he's still a presence to be reckoned with, similar to how you hear about other villains that are talked about, like maybe, I don't know who to compare him to, though you would probably most likely compare them to Sauron. Characters like Sephiroth. Sephiroth is mostly talked about through the entirety of Final Fantasy VII, or through parts of Final Fantasy VII, but there's only brief moments where you actually see him, or he's doing like evil things. Similar to even Alduin in Skyrim, like you mostly hear of his presence, and you how you see it's similar to Sauron as well. How you see his evil spread across the world and how it's affecting the world is when you see that one scene where Alduin is raising a dragon from the dead. You realize, oh wait, he's the reason dragons are always attacking everywhere. So you do technically see his evil, and it's the same thing with seeing the Orcai and such attacking everywhere they go. And yeah, Saruman's leading a lot of them, his own army, but it is mostly Sauron. But yeah, I don't agree with his goofy point. Also, what Marvel character looks... I'm guessing he's talking mostly about the movies, which, by the way, came after the Lord of the Rings movies, dumbass. Why does he compare stuff to things that come like, he'll say Doomsday, who came way after the Batman v Superman Doomsday, came way after Fellowship of the Ring, and then compare it to frickin' the Cave Troll, and it's like, the Cave Troll came out first. I understand you're making a joke, but then there are other times where he's serious about it, and it kind of doesn't become a joke, and he's like, seriously, why do all these guys look butt ugly like this? Oh, look at that. They came out first, bro. And I love the Balrog. The Balrog is like one of the coolest scenes. It's got one of the most iconic lines said in that sequence. And it's an effect that not only I feel still holds up, but looks incredibly awesome. I love the Balrog sequence. And it feels mysterious, and like it also has some mystery as well as build up to it. I love the entire Moria sequence where they read that book about drums in the dark, and then when somebody freaking Pippin or whatever knocks over that frickin' skeleton and causes a bunch of noise, afterwards they hear those same drums. They get attacked by a bunch of goblins and orcs. They get attacked by a cave troll, and there's this build up. I love that scene where there's just a light at the end of that corridor of pillars, and it's enough to scare off all of those dudes. That's a much vaster army than their little fellowship. They just get scared off. They're like, forget it, we're not killing them, we're getting the frick out of here. They want nothing to do with that, and it just builds up that creature, the Balrog, especially Gandalf talking about him and what he is. But all you see is a light at the end of the goddamn pillared like tunnel. You don't see its physical form until it's up and close, almost like it's invisible in a way. And then when you finally get to see it after he starts bashing that doorway, after they get across that staircase, after they get across the bridge, you finally see the goddamn thing. And it's cool as hell. Literally. But it's such an iconic sequence, and I love the fight sequence that takes place in Two Towers, where he's fighting them as they're falling. And it's described as this long-ass fight, and it's also even cooler in the book because there's a part talking about nameless things in the water, which remind me of almost Lovecraftian creatures, or the guardian of the front door to the Mines of Moria that they took. And it's just such a cool sequence. And the fact that it was such a long-ass battle that took them through freaking the deepest parts of the earth to the highest mountains. That's kind of like if I fought like a dragon in Skyrim from Blackreach all the way up to the throat of the world in that game. That's freaking awesome. The longest battle, just think of that. Anyways, my phone's gonna run out of time to record here. It's also running low on battery. That's pretty much all I wanted to mention. I think the character's awesome. I love the character. I think that voice is cool. I think the design is cool. Once again, it's influenced designs of other fantasy villains and such, and it's just badass. Love it. Frick you, Nostalgia Critic. No, I'm just kidding. I love Nostalgia Critic. He does have good points with the movie. Fellowship was actually one of my favorite movies of the three for the longest time, but now just like the Mass Effect trilogy, I can't see them separated from one another. I have to clump them all three of them together as a favorite movie trilogy of all time, or just favorite movie. I can't see them separated otherwise. But you have an awesome day. Bye-bye. And without the first one, we probably wouldn't have had the other two. I don't know. I don't know.